शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजेत् भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् अपार करुणासिन्धुं ज्ञानदं शान्तरूपिणं श्रीचन्द्रशेखरेन्द्रगुरुं प्रणमामि मुदान्वहं। सद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्. So in the last class of Viveka Chudamani, we finished the Sadhana Chatushtayam. I'm going to tell this once again so that the point is we can all get it by heart. What are Sadhana Chatushtayam? Sadhana Chatushtayam are the prerequisites for the study of Vedanta. Chatushtayam means four. Sadhana means path. So there are four paths to reach to study Vedanta. What are those four? Discrimination, dispassion, discipline, and desire. Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekaha, the discrimination between temporary and permanent source of happiness. And once I know what is temporary and permanent, I take the permanent source of happiness to be my primary source of happiness, and I don't depend upon all the temporary sources of happiness, security, and peace for my security, peace, and happiness. That is called as Vairagya. Iha Mutra Phalabhoga Viragaha. And Adi Shankaracharya says there are sixfold disciplines one should follow, starting from mental discipline, Shama, physical discipline, Dama, Uparatihi means the ability to be with oneself. Titiksha, patience or enduring favorable and unfavorable conditions. And faith, Shraddha, and Samadhanam, which is laser sharp focus. And after having Samadhi Shatka Sampattihi, one should have a burning desire for moksha called as mumukshutvam. And the sadhana chatushtaya, as I said before, is the prerequisite for Vedantic studies. And in the last class, Bhagavad Pada says, after having sadhana chatushtaya, one should have bhakti as an accessory for the journey. Having bhakti as the accessory for journey, one should take the journey of scriptural studies, that is Vedantic studies. And Acharya also said, what is bhakti? Bhakti is Swaswarupa Anusandhanam. There are several gradations of bhakti. For a beginner, bhakti is to have a personal God, and we can feed him, we can bathe, etc. But once we go up, the final level of bhakti is Jnani Bhakti. In terms of Bhagavad Gita, it is called as Jnani Bhakti. In terms of Viveka Chudamani, it is called as Swaswarupa Anusandhanam. And what is Swaswarupa Anusandhanam? Realizing and abiding in our own self, meditating upon our own nature as Sat Chit Anandam, Satyam Jnanam Anantam. That is called as bhakti. We need to reach that final goal, and that itself is called as moksha. We are studying this entire Viveka Chudamani in order to understand ourselves. What is physics? Physics is understanding all the natural things. What is biology? Biology is understanding all the living things. What is chemistry? Chemistry is understanding all the molecules. In the same way, what is bhakti? If somebody asks, bhakti is understanding about our own selves. Only if we understand about our own self, we can function properly. Why do we study physics? We study all the physical laws of nature. We study about gravity so that we can utilize gravity in a proper way. You know, there is a story. I mean, it is not a story. What happened was when India and the USA are trying to put an Mars rover into the Mars, US has spent apparently a lot of money. They built a very strong engine so that the rocket from here goes directly into the Mars. But what did India do for Mangalyaan? Mangalyaan, India did not have that much amount of power in the engine. But what it did was it did something called a slingshot. It utilized the gravity of sun, it utilized the gravity of earth in order to project that rocket into Mars. So that can happen only if we have a proper understanding of gravity. So only if we have the proper understanding of gravity, we can utilize it in order to do some good things. What is quantum mechanics and theory of relativity? We all have cell phone, we have GPS works on theory of relativity. In order to position ourselves, they need to have a good understanding of theory of relativity. Only if we have good understanding of theory of relativity, we can put it for a good use. In the same way, only if we have good understanding of ourselves, we can be useful to the community, and we as a human being can function properly in this world. We can do that only if we have a good understanding of ourselves. And what does Vedanta do? Vedanta basically gives us the knowledge about our own selves. Who are you? Who am I? If we go to Ramana Maharshi's ashram, they say, Nan Yar. Who am I? Only if we understand ourselves, only if we have a good grasp of what is our body, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, what are the limitations, what are the strengths, we can be a good person in general. So if somebody asks what is the use of studying Vedanta, here is the answer you can give. Okay, that setting aside, a person should have all the sixfold discipline, Shamali Shatka Sampattihi, which is included in the Sadhana Chatushtayam. And he has to proceed to the Guru. That is what Viveka Chudamani says. But now we are going to take some aside points to see before going to the actual path of Viveka Chudamani. So some points to note. What are the some points? We saw the prerequisites of Vedantic study, and we saw that to be sadhana chatushtaya alone, and getting moksha or getting knowledge does not depend upon anyone's gender, because there are mathams, there are dharmas which says only male can get moksha or only female can get moksha, the other gender cannot get moksha. There are dharmas that say that, but according to Advaita Vedanta, we saw the prerequisites, and gender was not one of the prerequisites for getting moksha. In Upanishads, there are several female philosophers who actually teach Vedanta to their students. There is a mother called as Madalasa. She sings a lullaby for her son, which is a beautiful lullaby. It is an outpouring of Vedantic teaching in a Purana. It is a 1-year-old son, not even a 1-year-old son. A mother teaches Vedanta to her own son. So how can a mother teach Vedanta if she does not have undergone Vedantic studies? So for the study of Vedanta, for the inquiry about oneself, gender is not a bar. That is the first thing we need to understand. Second thing, some people will say only Brahmanas can get moksha, only Kshatriyas can get moksha, only Vaishyas can get moksha. Is there any Varna requirement for the study of Vedanta? No, because we have seen Sadhana Chatushtaya and Varna does not hold a place. You know, even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is not a Brahmana. Bhagavad Gita is a Prasthanatrayi Grantha. It is one of the principal sources of Vedanta. Krishna is not a Brahmana. Krishna who tells the Bhagavad Gita and Arjuna who listens the Bhagavad Gita is not a Brahmana as well. So only Brahmana can get moksha. That is also a myth because Varna does not find a place in the sadhana chatushtaya. Okay, next question. Only sannyasis can get moksha. The questions will arise. Ashrama means the phase of life. Our Shastras has split our phases of life into 4 phases. You know, just like Rajinikanth has said, எட்டு எட்டா மனுஷ வாழ்க்கை பிரிச்சுக்கோ அதில் எந்த எட்டில் நீ இருக்க தெரிஞ்சுக்கோ. You know, he sings a song. Rajinikanth has split human life into 8 phases, but Shastra splits human life into 4 phases. They are Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. Brahmacharya means a student phase in one's life. Grihastha, a married man's phase. He makes babies, he does a lot of karma. Vanaprastha, a retirement life. He is slowly withdrawn from his family. And sannyasa is total withdrawal. And did we see anything related to ashrama and sadhana chatushtaya? We did not see anything. So brahmacharya can get moksha. We have example in Upanishads, we have examples in Puranas. Grihastha can get moksha. You know, a married person, who said married people cannot get moksha? Married male, married female can get moksha. A vanaprasthin can get moksha, and a sannyasin can always get moksha. So ashrama, meaning which phase the person is in his life, is also not a constraint for getting moksha. And above all, choice of upasya devata. This is where all fight happens, not even in Sanatana Dharma, in every religion. You will get moksha only if you worship this deity. A Shaiva will say, you will get moksha only if you worship Shiva. A Vaishnava will say, you will get moksha only if we worship Vishnu. And a Shakta can say, you will get moksha only if you worship Ambal. But what does Adi Shankaracharya say? What does Upanishads, which is the primary source of knowledge, say? The Upanishads does not say anything about Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Adi Shankaracharya does not say anything about Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. So, what deity you worship does not dictate moksha. All the deities can grant moksha. Even Nammalvar says, Avaravar Irayavar, Kuraivilar Irayavar, Avaravar Vidivali Adayahindranaре. This is Saint Nammalvar in Divya Prabandham. He says, whatever devata you want to proceed, you proceed to worship. Because at the end, all the devatas are just one and the same. So moksha is not constrained by what gender you are, what varna you are, what ashrama you are in, and what is your upasya devata. If you follow sadhana chatushtaya, if you have guru bhakti, if you worship any bhagavan as dictated by Vedas, you are always eligible for getting moksha. All you need is Guru Kripa, all you need is Bhagavad Kripa, and most important of all you need is self-effort. That is what Adi Shankaracharya is going to say later. He is going to praise self-effort. Even Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, Uddhared Atmana Atmanam. You have to work for your own moksha. You cannot say, hey, he is my guru, he is going to bring moksha to me. Adi Shankaracharya does not accept that. You have to work for your own moksha. A guru is an essential part, but a guru cannot do all the work for you. He does his work, which is teaching, but you also have to do your own work. So all these things we are going to see later, but I just want to drive home these points. Gender, varna, ashrama, upasya devata, does not constrain anyone from getting moksha. That is point number one I want to say. In Viveka Chudamani, Adi Shankaracharya says, after a student gained the sadhana chatushtaya, after a student fulfills the prerequisite of sadhana chatushtaya, the student has to go to a guru and then ask guru for knowledge. So this is also a very important aspect in Sanatana Dharma and a very important aspect in the pursuit of moksha. Normally, people will think, hey, I'm not going to go to any guru. I'm just going to do my own puja. At the right time, a guru will approach me and he will give knowledge to me. That's what most of the people think, but Acharya says no, that is not the case. Even at the right time, even if guru is there in front of you, only if you ask the guru, only if you approach the guru and ask him for the knowledge, he will give. What happened to Arjuna and Bhagavad Gita? Arjuna says, hey Krishna. So Arjuna considered Krishna as a mere driver and say, Arjuna asked Krishna, Senayor Ubhayor Madhye Ratam Stapayame Achyuta. He says, hey Achyuta, please park my car in between the two senas, in between the Pandava Sena and Gaurava Sena. And he saw, Bhishma, Drona, all his acharyas were there on the other side, and he got so scared. And the whole first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna does not utter even a single word. And only in the second chapter, when after Arjuna does Sharanagati to Krishna, in second chapter, Arjuna says, Shishyastoham chatimam mam prapadye. Hey Krishna, please accept me as your Sishya and please find a solution for this problem. Only after Arjuna says this, only after Arjuna Sharanagati, Krishna says from shloka number 11, Shri Bhagavan Vacha, Ashocchanan Vashochaspam Prajnavadamscha Bhashase, Gatasuna Gatasumscha Nanushochanti Panditaha. Krishna starts his teaching in Bhagavad Gita only from chapter number 2. And what does that signify? It is the duty of a student to actively search for a guru, to actively approach a guru, and to actively ask questions. So asking questions is very, very important. Normally, we don't encourage, we means as a society, we don't encourage anybody asking questions, but Sanatana Dharma encourages, not only encourages, it requires all the students to ask questions to their guru. Let us see Upanishads. 10 principal Upanishads are there. 108 total number of Upanishads are there. Invariably, if you take any Upanishads, in the first paragraph, you will see a question put forth by the Sishya to a guru. For example, take Mundaka Upanishad. Shaunako havai mahashalo angirasam vidivadupasanna papracha kasmin bhagavo vigyate sarvamidam vigyatam bhavatiti. In Mundaka Upanishad, the Sishya Shaunaka asks the Guru Angirasam Vidivat Upasanna Prapracha. Papracha means he asked, Prachudhatu, to ask. He asked, what does the Sishya ask? He asked, Kasmin bhagavo vigyate sarvamidam vigyatam bhavatiti. Hey Guru, by knowing what, I know the entire thing in this universe. By knowing what one thing, I get the knowledge of all the other things. So that is the question put forth by Shaunaka to his guru Angirasa. And only the teaching starts after the question. Say Kenopanishad, for example. Kenopanishad, the first shloka, it starts with Keni shitam padati preshitam mana kena prana prathamah praiti yuktaha Keni shitam vachamimam vadanti chakshushrotram kavidevo yunakti. Here in Kenopanishad, the names of the Guru and Sishya are not mentioned, but the question is mentioned. And Adi Shankaracharya, when writing the commentary, he says, this is the Guru and this is the Sishya. We all know Taittiriya Upanishads. We all have listened to Taittiriya Upanishads. Here the Varuni Vidya states, Bhrigurvaiva Rudihi Varunam Pitaramupasasara Adhihi Bhagavo Brahmeti. He says, Bhrigurvai Varunihi Varunam Pitaram Upasasara. Bhrigu asks Varuna, his own father. What does he ask? Adhihi Bhagavo Brahmeti. Hey father, tell me about Brahman. Asks here the Guru and Sishya happens to be father and son as well. So all the Upanishads, it all starts with a question by Sishya to a Guru. So a proper Guru will never discourage questions from Sishya. That is our glorious tradition. Even now, a Sishya, if he goes and approaches a Guru with proper question, Guru will be so happy. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita as well. Tadvidhi pranipadena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninaha tattvadarshinaha. In fact, this question summarizes the next 15 or 20 shlokas in Viveka Chudamani. What does the shloka says? Tat vidhi, hey Arjuna, no. Vidhi means no. How to know that? Pranipadena pariprashnena sevaya. So go to your Guru with the right attitude. Pranipadena, fall on his feet. Pariprashnena, ask him good questions. Prashna means questions. Pariprashnena, repeatedly ask him questions. And do what? Sevaya. And do seva to your Guru. So go to your Guru, fall at his feet, do some seva. But in doing seva, don't forget why did you go for the Guru. You went to the Guru in order to ask questions to get moksha. Ask the questions well. You are doing seva to Guru, but also don't forget to ask the questions to Guru. And how does that Guru should be? In the same shloka, Krishna says, Upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninaha tattvadarshinaha. The Guru has to be a jnani and the Guru has to be a tattvadarshan as well. If we remember this shloka, next 10 to 15 shlokas in Viveka Chudamani, it's all being presented in capsule form in this Bhagavad Gita shloka, and I'm going to quote the next shloka from another Upanishad. So how should be a Guru? A Guru should be a Jnani himself. Jnani means knower. A Guru, only if a Guru knows about Brahman, he can teach about Brahman to the Sishyas, right? So a Guru should be a knower, and just knowing is not enough. A Guru should also be a Tattvadarshin. What is meant by a Tattvadarshin? A Guru should also be a realized soul. So now we understand knowing Brahman is different from realizing Brahman. Because if knowing is realizing, Krishna would not have put this Jnaninaha and Tattvadarshinaha, two words. Krishna would have simply used just one word. But Krishna puts two words here, Jnaninaha Tattvadarshinaha, meaning the Guru should be a knower of the Brahman and he should also be a realized soul. What is meant by knowing? What is meant by realizing? We will see in the coming shlokas of Viveka Chudamani. And in Mundaka Upanishad, shloka says, Parikshalokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedamayat nastyakrita kritena tadvignartham sagurumeva abhigachet samitpanihi shrotriyam brahmanishtam. The second two lines is what is important here. Tatvignartham, in order to know about Brahman, what should you do? Sa gurumeva abhigachet. Gurum means Guru. You have to go to a Guru, none other than Guru. Gurum eva, evakaram means none other than Guru. You have to go And what should you do? How, with what attitude you should go? Samitpanihi, in olden days, people are used to do lot of yajnas and homas, and samit is one of an ingredient. So Shastra never says learn Viveka Chudamani or learn Vedanta by giving money, but just do some sevas to Guru. And how should be the Guru? Again, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Shrotriyam means a listener, a listened person, meaning Guru has to listen from his own Guru. The same meaning as Jnaninaha in the previous shloka. A Guru has to be a Shrotriya. Also, a Guru has to be a Brahmanishtha, a realized soul himself. So that much importance Shastra says for the Guru. Why is Guru important for this Vidya? Again, this is not covered in Viveka Chudamani, but we need to understand these concepts in order for a good, clear knowledge. There are several ways, there are several points which says why a Guru is important for this Vidya, and I'm just telling 3 points. Point number 1, a Guru carries the knowledge from his Guru, because that is how we define the Guru. And even in the last class, and I guess even in the class before that, I said a Guru is a Guru only if he knows Shastra, only if he has learned Shastra from another Guru. We don't consider a person as a Guru. He says, hey, I say do this. We consider that person as a Guru. He says, hey, Shastra says like this, so do this. So a Guru has to be a learned man. So he learned from his Guru. And where did that Guru learned it from? He learned from his own Guru. So if we see the chain all the way goes back to the original source of knowledge, which is nothing but Bhagavan. So whatever Bhagavan intended, whatever Vedas intended, that is being faithfully carried over to the Sishya. That is why we say Guru Sishya Parampara. It is a linkage, and if that linkage is broken, the original meaning cannot be transmitted to the next lineage. So that is why a physical Guru is important. And number 2, each student has to be taught differently. That one student may be highly skilled. He will be having a karpura buddhi, but the other student will be having a mandha buddhi. If a person reads from the book, a book cannot serve all the audience, right? Book will be written for a median student, but a book cannot be book is not a personalized form of teaching. So that is why we need a physical living Guru. And most importantly, one cannot ask questions to a book to get clarified. Later on we are going to see Shrotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nitidyasitavyaha. He says, Atma va are, Shrotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nitidyasitavyaha. 3 processes are important. One of the process is Shrotavya, to gain the knowledge. Second process is Mantavya, to get your doubts removed. The third process is Nitidyasitavyaha, to meditate. The first one, a book might be able to do, but the second one, to get our doubts clarified, a book can never do that. That is why we need a physical Guru. Okay, I say all these things. What is the Advaita Guru Parampara? We all need to know. We all chant this shloka. We say Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. We say all those shlokas, but we ourselves need to know what is our glorious parampara. Only if we know our parampara, we feel proud. We all should feel proud of ourselves, because this is my lineage. We should be able to tell others. What is our lineage? These 2 shlokas, they say the entire Advaita Parampara. Narayanam Padma Bhuvam Vasishtham Shaktin Chatat Putra Parasharancha Vyasam Shukam Gauda Padam Mahantam Govinda Yogindra Mathasya Sishyam Shri Shankaracharya Mathasya Padmapadancha Hastamalakancha Sishyam Tam Totakam Vartikakaram Anyan Asmat Gurun Santatamanatosmi. Three types of gurus are being told in the shloka. I have colored those three gurus differently. In blue are the Deva Varga gurus. The Deva gurus. Narayanam is Sriman Narayana. Padma Bhuvam is Brahma. Padma means lotus. Padma Bhuvam, the one who is born out of lotus. So from Narayana, the knowledge is passed on to Brahmaji, the Chaturmukha Brahma. And from Brahma, the later names in yellows, Vasishtam, Shakti, Parasharam, Vyasam, Shukham. So these five people are called as Rishi Ganas. These five people are Rishis. Who are the Rishi? Vyasacharya, his son Shakti, his son Parashara, his son, Vasishta, his son Shakti, his son Parashara, his son Vyasa, his son Shukha. We all know Vyasam, Vasishta Naptaram, Shaktev Pautram Akalmasham, Parasharatmajam Vande, Shukatatam Taponitim. We say the shloka. So Vasishta, Shakti, Parashara, Vyasa, Shukha. From Brahmaji, Vasishta is a Manasa Putra of Brahma. So from Brahmaji, Vasishta learnt this knowledge. Vasishta then gave this knowledge to Shakti. Shakti gave the knowledge to Parashara. Parashara then gave the knowledge to Vyasa. Vyasa then gave the knowledge to Shuka Brahma Maharishi. So these five people are called as Rishi Ganas of Guru. And from Rishi Ganas, all the green is called as Manava Ganas. These are all human beings, just like you and I, who have walked past all the places in the world. And the first one is Gaudapada, Gaudapadam Mahantam, Gaudapada. And from Gaudapada, Govinda Bhagavat Pada got this knowledge. And from Govinda Bhagavat Pada, Sri Shankaracharya, Shankara Bhagavat Pada got it. And Shankara Bhagavat Pada has got four Sishyas. Who are those Sishyas? Padmapada, Hastamalaka, Totaka, Vartikakara. Vartikakara is Sureshwaracharya. So from Shankaracharya, this knowledge was passed on to all his four Sishyas, Padmapada, Hasta, Malaka, Totaka, and Sureshwaracharya. And all of us are students of Adi Shankaracharya. All of us are then students of Govinda Bhagavat Padacharya because we read Shankara Bhashyam. We study Adi Shankaracharya. Adi Shankaracharya studied from Govinda. Govinda studied from Gaudapada. Again, so if you connect the dots, it goes all the way to Sriman Narayana himself. So that much sound our Advaita Parampara is, that much sound our lineages. So let us not break the lineage and let us study Advaita Vedanta, how Sriman Narayana intended it to be. Let us study Vedanta, how Brahmaji intended it to be. Let us study Vedanta, how Shankaracharya intended it to be. We all know this shloka. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadu Acharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. You know, here this says the source of knowledge is Sadashiva. As Dakshinamurti, he first initiated the knowledge to Mahavishnu, and Mahavishnu gave the knowledge to all the lineages. Sadashiva Samarama. So it all started with Sadashiva. Shankaracharya Madhyama. You know, Adi Shankaracharya is in the middle of the knowledge, and Asmadacharya Paryantam, my Guru. Asmadacharya literally means my Guru. So I worship that Guru Parampara. So we will also worship this Guru Parampara because only now the actual teaching of Viveka Chudamani is started. Whatever the classes we have seen, 10 or 11 classes we have seen, it only dealt with the prerequisites of Vedanta. Only now the actual Vedanta is going to start. The Sishya now is, he started walking from his house to his Guru house. Next week, he will reach the Guru's house and he is going to ask very, very important questions. How to cross over this samsara, and what is on the other end of samsara. What is the means by which the ocean of samsara should be crossed? Samsara is often related to a big ocean. And when we want to cross the ocean, we need to have a boat, and that boat should be sturdy. If that boat is made of paper, we all are going to drown in the middle way. So the Sishya asks, how to cross the ocean of samsara? The Guru is going to answer. What is the means by which we cross the samsara? The Guru is going to answer. The third important question is, okay, once I cross the samsara, what is on the other end? These are all very profound questions. The Guru is going to say some answers, and Sishya again is going to ask a lot of questions. So that is why I said, in Sanatana Dharma, questions are never discouraged. Even, Krishna is the best teacher. We say Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru, but for each and every adhyaya, there is an Arjuna Vacha Shlokam. Each and every adhyaya, Arjuna will ask questions. Sometimes he will ask the same questions over and over again for 4 or 5 adhyayas, and Krishna will patiently answer. In the same way, the Guru Sishya in Viveka Chudamani is also going to have a very beautiful, very intellectual conversation, which is going to reveal all the knowledge of Vedanta. And we will also pray to our Gurus, Narayanam Padmabhuvam, from Narayana, from Sadashiva. We will ask for their blessings in order to assimilate this knowledge properly. With this, we can end this class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnaya Purnamidam